Thousands of years ago, a massive assembly gathered upon the stone platform at Vulture Peak to ask a single question: where does human consciousness actually live? We all share the suspicion that we are ourselves, that the world is out there, and a silent watcher is sitting somewhere inside our heads, observing it all happen. To find that watcher, scientists and philosophers have historically looked inward, taking matter apart. They break the body down into smaller and smaller physical components, searching for the exact biological location of the observer. Other traditions look in the opposite direction. They search for a mind completely detached from the physical world, treating consciousness as an independent, floating substance that somehow pilots the body. The text spoken at Vulture Peak, the Sutra of the Tranquil Arising, points out the mechanical error in both methods. They are trying to locate a permanent, static object inside a universe composed entirely of dynamic events. The sutra introduces a third framework called the non-exclusive middle. Look at this diagram. Reality doesn't happen in the isolated nodes. The action is right here in the intersection. Reality exists in relationships. The Buddha illustrates this with the parable of a lute. When the wind blows through the strings and makes music, you won't find the music hiding inside the wood or the strings. And if you spend your life chasing the air currents, you won't find the music hiding inside the wind either. The music is the meeting. It is the specific event of the wind interacting with the lute. Without that exact meeting, the music doesn't exist. The text applies this exact logic to the human mind. The self lacks what the sutra calls own being, meaning it cannot exist on its own in a vacuum. Consciousness isn't a substance you possess. It is an arising. It is the real-time activity that happens when your biology encounters its environment. Once we view consciousness as an activity, we can look at the mechanics of how it works. The sutra breaks sentience into two movements. The first is registration, the basic biological mechanism a living system uses to read its environment, sensing warmth or detecting a gradient. This ability to sense conditions is a positive biological trait. It is an organism's inherent acceptance of the world around it, a baseline posture of life saying yes to life. But a system can easily lose its balance. Look at this wave pattern. The second movement is reaction. The smooth flow breaks when an organism overshoots its baseline, either frantically grasping at a pleasant sensation or violently recoiling from an unpleasant one. When this overshoot becomes chronic, the text identifies it as dukkha, the deep dissatisfaction that comes from fighting with reality. The error here is mechanical. The mind is trying to freeze a pleasant moment and isolate it from the flow of time. It demands permanence from an event that requires motion to exist. This frames human suffering not as a moral failing, but as a biological miscalibration. It is the physical strain of trying to make a temporary interaction permanent. Fixing this miscalibration requires equanimity. The text is careful to distinguish this from its near enemies. Equanimity is not retreating into the forest, numbing your emotions, or refusing to care. True equanimity is a state of active, homeostatic balance. Like a gyroscope holding its vertical balance against competing forces, a calibrated mind registers the world fully, but does not add the distortion of grasping. The system feels every shift in its environment and stays upright. This is sentience operating at full health, the mature expression of life meeting life. A recalibrated mind doesn't retreat from the impermanent world. It remains fully engaged, experiencing the pleasant and the painful, but letting them pass without generating the friction of resistance. The sutra concludes with the phrase, Yui Butsyo Yo Butsyo. The key word is yo, meaning the space between, or together. Absolute knowing cannot happen locked away inside an isolated mind. Because consciousness is a relational event, awakening is also an event. It occurs only in the active meeting between the observer and the observed, recognizing each other from within the arising. This realization traces back to this ancient stone platform, where the teaching was first transmitted by one awareness meeting another in real time. The rigid boundary of the individual self drops away. Instead of separate observers walking through a static world, we are the universe itself, configured locally, recognizing itself in temporary moments of connection. The chaotic conditions of reality will always arise and fall. But when you stop fighting the flow and fully participate in the meeting, the ground beneath you remains completely tranquil.